From politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the entire United States of America. Good morning to the entire world. We are here today in interesting terms. But beforehand, folks, we want to go ahead and give our most sincere condolences to all of those who lost their lives in central Texas in the hill country from the floods. Something that should not have happened, something that should give us a warning, and much more. But before we get busy, folks, let's go to the great folks in the studio. Senor Howard Reynolds, Jack Van Viver, and Mayana. Good morning.
Where are you, Howard? Where are you?
Good morning.
Buenos dias, my guys. We have a lot to talk about. The flood in Texas right now is just the beginning, just the beginning. But
Yes.
anyway, what's up, guys? What kind of wisdom can I get from our wonderful folks out there in the studio?
Okay, well, Texans die needlessly as Trump austerity measures start the death toll rising. As cuts to the San Angelo and San Antonio National Weather Service lacked their key hydrologist and the coordinating staff after a early retirement offer was given by Trump, imposed by Trump, more or less. So they lost their people that are the ones in the know of these kind of events that can tell that it's going to be a bad day. Anyway, they didn't have that staff. And Kirk County chief official admitted he refused to fund a modern flood alert system. This is a public policy failure as Trump policies are to weaken, underfund, and understaff public safety. So Texans and Americans, when it comes to your safety, don't depend on the government right now. They're not there for you anymore. And this is going to happen more and more. It's called
Yeah,
austerity. It's called austerity.
yes. It's gonna happen over and over again if we don't start to what you call it, dot the I's and cross the T's of what's going on. And that's what I hope to partially do today. But anyway, Jack, let me go ahead and get started here. Thank you, brother. Look, folks, people say, it's too early to start coming down on getting political with this stuff. Everything in this world is political. Everything that's been done to you is political. Politics is absolutely everything. Those people that don't want you to be political, in effect, are saying, just be quiet and let what's being done to you be done to you. That's what it's all about. This is political. Very, very political. And the type of political has cost many of our fellow Texans their lives. An entire family out here in Kingwood, a teacher at the Kingwood Parks High, has been already found dead, and his family, they're still trying to find them. This is real. This is absolutely real. And not talking about it and not assigning blame where it belongs so that it doesn't happen again would be a dereliction of duty of anybody who has a platform and who's doing the research on this issue. So, folks, that's what we're going to talk about. Last night, I did a piece on my program that I have for my subscribers on the weekend. And what I want to do is I want to play that piece and then we'll continue with the program. So let me go ahead and get that piece played, and then we'll continue with the program. Let's go ahead and get started with the Texas flood. It is not too early to ascertain blame. In fact, it is important. So far, we have lost over 75 innocent Texans. Over 75 innocent Texans. I don't think we had that type of loss in many hurricanes that we've had here in Texas. I want to give my most sincere condolences to all the families that have suffered, that have died. My heart goes out to you. But more importantly, I am sorry that collectively we failed each other, because none of this should have happened. None of this needed to happen. All of this was foretold in blogs that I've written and blogs that others have written. When you have incompetence, fallacies, and misinformation, that is the current ruling class in states like Texas and a federal government that we have now, this is the result. When you don't have a science basis on which you write policy, on which you hire, on which you employ, this is the result. It's not a game. Our president can go out there and talk BS and lie till kingdom come. When nature calls, this is what we get. You have no control over it. All you have is the ability to be an adult, a person with a science mind, to take advantage of it. Now, after this event started to occur, and remember, this event is not over. It is raining again in Central Texas, okay? It is raining again in Central Texas. Now, here was the response from our officials here in Texas. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll continue with it.
The original forecast that we received on Wednesday from the National Weather Service predicted 3 to 6 inches of rain in the Concho Valley and 4 to 8 inches of rain in the Hill Country. We worked with our own meteorologists to fine-tune that weather statement, and as many of you know, and many of you in broadcast journalism and meteorology, you can go back and look at your own forecast, and the amount of rain that fell in this specific location was never in any of those forecasts.
This rain event sat on top of that and dumped more rain than what was forecasted on both of those forks. When we got the report, it was about 7 feet or so on the South Fork, and within a matter of minutes, it was up to 29 feet, and all of that converged at the Guadalupe, and that's where we saw those very quick rise in flood.
But listen, everybody got the forecast from the National Weather Service, right? You all got it. You're all in media. You got that forecast. It did not predict the amount of rain that we saw.
That is what's called cover your you-know-what. That is what's called that. Even as this event was occurring, where were all the warnings? And you know what? I am not a meteorologist, but we saw the maps. We saw the big clouds over Central Texas. This is an area, and by the way, I camped out there. I camped in Kerrville. I camped in New Braunfels. New Braunfels got saved this time from Canyon Lake, but not up there in Kerr, which is northwest of Canyon Lake. Now, this was a dereliction of duty locally as well as nationally. Here is what was reported in the New York Times, and the New York Times was not as severe as it should have said. It said, crucial positions at the local offices of the National Weather Services were unfilled as severe rainfall inundated parts of Central Texas on Friday morning, prompting some experts to question whether staffing shortages made it harder for forecasting agency to coordinate with local emergency managers. And down below it says, the shortages are among the factors likely to be scrutinized as the death toll climbs from the floods. Separate questions have emerged about the preparedness of local communities, including Kerr County's apparent lack of local flood warning systems. The county, roughly 50 miles northwest of San Antonio, is where many of the deaths occur. But more importantly, I want you to listen to this part from the county judge. In Texas, the way it operates is every county has the most important politician, the leader. It's called a county judge. And the county judge is in charge of leading a group that allocates resources like for your streets, for your display of alarms, all that kind of stuff the county judge does. Here's what this guy, the county judge of Kerr County, said. It said, in an interview, Rob Kelly, the Kerr County judge and its most senior elected officials said that the county did not have a warning system because such systems are expensive and local residents are resistant to new spending. Taxpayers won't pay for it, Mr. Kelly said. Asked if people might reconsider in light of the catastrophe. He said, I don't know. Let's be clear here. If you have leadership is able to convince a population that this will save their lives. And not only that, when he comes out and he says, it's too expensive for people, that's an ideological answer. Is it too expensive to have a bridge over a river so that we don't have to move by boat? No. So the county builds a bridge. Is it too expensive to have a water treatment plant and not just pump dirty water to people? No, because the county realizes the people have to have it. And that is something that has to be, if you live in the most dangerous, and by the way, the Guadalupe Valley is one of the most dangerous flash flood valleys in the country. I remember camping out on the Guadalupe River a couple of weeks before a major flood, and there were bat tubs and sheets up into the trees, several dozen feet above the ground. This is not uncommon for here, but when you have missing people in your weather office that can't give you the right things because of what Doge and Donald Trump did in the weather service, and locally here in San Antonio, the person who is in charge of these diagnoses, there was nobody there. Nobody there to tell these officials, hey, guess what? There's a lot of rain. And these officials, knowing that there's nobody there because of what their Führer has done, Donald Trump has done, they didn't take precautions to save these people's lives. This is something that did not have to happen, and heads should roll. We always know there's incompetence out here in Texas. You know, we have a governor that is putting a whole lot of troops on the border, but where we should have people taking care of people, we don't. Now, as it turns out, it says the National Weather Service San Angelo office, which is responsible for some of the areas hit hardest by Friday's flooding, was missing a senior hydrologist, which means there's nobody there to tell what the path of the water is going to be, a staff forecaster and meteorologist in charge. According to Tom Fahey, the legislative director of the National Services Employees Organization, the union that represents weather workers. The weather services nearby in San Antonio, which covers other areas hit by the flood, also had significant vacancies, including a warning coordination meteorologist and science officer. Missing. Why were they missing? They took early retirement. That office coordination meteorologist left on April 30th after taking the early retirement package the Trump administration used to reduce the number of federal employees, according to a person with knowledge of his departure. At both offices, the vacancy rate is roughly double what it was when Trump returned to the White House in January. John Sokich, who until January was director of congressional affairs and the weather server for the National Weather Service, said those unfilled positions made it harder to coordinate with local officials because each weather service office works as a team. Reduced staffing puts that in jeopardy, he said. Let's stop there. Competence matter. When you don't have floods, when you don't have hurricanes, etc., the most incompetent leader can look like a genius when they're saving tax dollars not spent. But the reason we invest in sometimes tax dollars that don't get spent is because of events like this. What is a life worth? What is the life of 28 beautiful children worth? What is the life of a teacher here in my town, in Kingwood, Texas? We lost a teacher, a shop teacher at Kingwood Parks High School, his wife and his daughter. They were camping out in that area. We lost. It affects all over because it's a popular spot. I've done tubing in the Guadalupe River. Could happen to anybody. You expect your government to work for you. Of course, I don't expect my Texas government to work for me because I know how inept it is. I know that they are one of the most corrupt and inept governments in this entire country. State government, one of the most inept in the country. Our wealth in oil, our wealth in natural resources makes us look a lot smarter than we really are, just because our wealth can cover so much. But still, we have thousands of people in Texas that die every single year with no health care. So it matters, people. It matters that we have ineptitude as the leaders of the state, and we have ineptitude as leaders of the country. Now, I want to expand this to something else, because as I saw what happened in Central Texas, all I could say is this is a dry run. And our dry run, by the time it's all over, would have killed over 100 people, if not closer to 200 when it's all over, because we don't know the death toll yet. All the RVs that lined that area, there is one particular spot where 29 RVs were washed away. 29 RVs were washed away. And most of those people in those RVs likely died. But we have a bigger problem coming. We have a much bigger problem coming. We have the Weather Service that has been decimated by Donald Trump's Doge, Elon Musk, Donald Trump. These things, people look at these things abstractly as if they think it's not going to affect them. But Texas is a bullseye, and it has already started in Central Texas with the floods. But let me tell you the bigger picture, folks. Houston, where I'm at, is the energy capital of the United States, if not the world. We have centralized all pipelines coming into the Houston area. Our I-10 along the Gulf Coast is lined with the major refineries of this country. Refinery after refinery after refinery through the ship channel. The ship channel opens up directly into the Gulf. And we have currently a weather service that is going to be unable to do the predictions that they did previous to Donald Trump, because they have got rid of so many scientists and others in our weather service. But the ship channel has never, ever taken a direct hit. Texas has not taken into account that having all these refineries where they have them in Texas, because of a lousy Texas have its own type of EPA, have not made any real mitigation for a direct hit of a Cat 4 hurricane. So this is a dry run that we're seeing here. When that next Cat 4 hurricane comes here, so far they have wobbled a little bit to the left or wobbled a little bit to the right to save the ship channel. But when that hurricane that neither Texas nor the Trump administration is preparing for comes into that ship channel, this is not going to be a Houston event. This is not going to be a Texas event. This is going to be a national event, because pipelines that are going all over the United States of America, many of them have their genesis right here in Houston, from all these refineries sending products all over the country. When you talk about the potential for catastrophe in the making, with a president that just passed a bill that has decimated the Weather Service, that has decimated FEMA, that has decimated all the institutions that would take care of people by passing all those funds that should be done and gone into our services onto a few rich folk, there's not a lot of good that is left to happen, folks. We were warned. We were warned. And now I'm warning again. And many have been warning and warning. We are in dire straits. The sun may be out here in Kingwood right now. Looks beautiful. But when something appears, as I spoke to my wife earlier when summer was starting, I said, this for me is the scariest time I've ever felt living here in Houston. And I'm about 50 miles from the coast, because as it turns out, with a president that can't even solve the problem in North Carolina, that cannot solve all those the floods that occur in North Carolina, and now in central Texas. What happens when the first real hurricane hits? We have a president that is happy to build a concentration camp in Alligator Alley, right? Now think about this, people. Built on flat land with tents, portable type tents to put vulnerable, quote unquote, undocumented immigrants. All we have to do is wait for a tropical storm, hurricane to come over there and create havoc. When I talk about irresponsible government, when I talk about a sick government, when I speak about a government that had never had the interests of the average American citizen at hand, this is what I'm talking about. Folks, that is why I do what I do here. That is why I hope we continue to do what we need to do to make people understand that this is not a joke. This is not an ideological exercise. This is reality. And over 100, it's currently counted as 78, but 41 people are missing. By the time this is all over 100 of our Texas brothers and sisters will be dead. And they will be dead at the hands of Doge. They'll be dead at the hand of Elon Musk and Donald Trump. They'll be dead at the hands of Greg Abbott and his corrupt government. They'll be dead at the hand of Dan Patrick, and they'll be dead at the hand of a whole lot of officials who refuse to do the job as they should. And I mean that to the core. I mean that to the core. And for those who are talking, oh, it's too early, that is insensitive. No, it's insensitive to get people killed. It is insensitive to put your head in the sand. It is insensitive to deny climate change. It is insensitive to do all these things, to cut funds to save people's lives, to throw it into the hands of a whole bunch of millionaires. A lot of people are going to die sacrificed to put more money into the hands of the few. This is just the start. This is just the beginning. FEMA has been decimated. Let's see what happens when the next real major storm. You heard the director of FEMA recently said, my goal is to have FEMA die. Texas is asking for declared status now, emergency declaration. But this same Texas is the one now that, according to Doge and Trump, we don't want FEMA to be taking care of disasters like this. They need to be handled locally. That's another way of saying, we don't want to collect taxes for the benefit of us all as an insurance policy for us all. We do the same thing with guns, right? Every time a school gets shot up all around the country, especially in red districts, we come back and we say, may God bless you, or my thoughts and prayers are with you. It is time to stop thinking about thoughts and prayers and start taking responsibility for making the changes needed to solve our problems. Welcome aboard, Joe from Los Angeles, California, Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia, Lita Beercat from Austin, Texas. You guys are getting a lot of rain. Margaret Ryan from Charleroi, Washington. Richard Brown from the state of Louisiana. Para ver, Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita. And Substack, thank you guys for being here. John A. Davis, Uju, Justil Robinson, Cynthia Hayes, Kate Carson, Suja Kumson, Beatrice, and 2 minutes to call out right now. But let's go ahead and get to John on line number 1.
Yeah, we must be on the same wavelength, because I think that, we had what they call an enlightenment, and the reason was because having a religious theocracy or autocracy or kingdom just didn't meet the needs of people, and people started to exercise more their frontal lobe and not look for answers about the material world, from the scripture. And I'm a very religious person, but I'm not anti-science. why? I mean, this is when I hear some of the rhetoric of these Republicans, hope and prayers. It's like they're going back several centuries, and modern societies cannot work, and all the things that are provided for us, like disease, like trying to eliminate disease or predict weather events. Global warming has been known since 1905. Svante Arrhenius discovered using science that we were adding carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. And of course, it wasn't until much later that we realized that this is causing a dramatic change in our weather. So then the politicians and administrators should look at that science, because it's an accepted fact throughout the world that global warming is a real thing. It affects the weather. It causes very big fluctuations in weather, floods and droughts, fires, and things like that. And these things we can deal with if we get off of burning fossil fuels. It's not a good idea. We're heating up our atmosphere. Early this spring, we had temperatures in the 90s and dew points down in 20%. It's just unheard of. I've lived here in Minnesota for 32 years. I've never seen anything like that. And what happens with people is, they just are overcome with all of these different things, and they think that we can't work our way out of these situations. But yes, we can. And by the way, Svante Arrhenius is a ancestor of Greta Thunberg. So I don't know if she, is honoring her great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather, but we learn from decade to decade, from century to century. We're building on the knowledge of people. Why go back and make religion, just ridiculous? It's just ridiculous to say, oh, thoughts and prayers, and things like this, and it just keeps happening, and it's translated, that bad kind of religion is translated into policy, which is not policy. It's so ideologically driven in Washington, D.C., but in the local politics, which I'm involved with, you have to answer these issues. You have to do something about flooding and, really bad temperatures, hot or cold or whatever it is, that, you try to as much use your own mind. God gave us a mind to use.
Yeah, John, let me interrupt a second. I need to interrupt a second to point out that all the policies passed in this last bill do exactly the opposite of much of what you said, because the new policies passed in the new budget goes ahead and redouble our efforts to burn more fossil fuel and makes it more expensive to build green solutions that would reduce. And so, I mean, we have actually made a concerted effort for, again, the oil industry did a good job in paying off their politicians for what's not good for all of us. And again, for them, it's working, right? Their competitor in much better energy gets ignored, but it goes a little bit further than that. I mean, you mentioned about religion. Religion, just like racism, is a tool used to enrich the few in a capitalist society. Religion is also a tool used for those that are very religious, whose mind are susceptible to to concepts like prayers and thoughts and prayers and that sort of stuff. It is a concerted effort to harm. All of this is in the Powell memo. It's all implied in the Powell memo of how to control people. But I got to go to the other person. John, give me a quick closer.
Oh, well, yeah, that fatalism that, oh, well, this is just the way it is. It might seem kind of comforting, but it's wrong. It's morally wrong. If we know that something is hurting us and hurting other people, we should ban it. We have in our
Absolutely.
cars, we have.
We got to go, John, but
Oh,
you're absolutely right, my dear
okay,
brother. You're
go ahead.
absolutely right. Let's go to, thank you, brother. Let's go to Brother Bruce. Come on in, Bruce.
Good morning. Good morning. Good
Good morning,
morning.
Bruce. We got you.
Yeah, first off, my problems are nothing compared to others right now. But let me tell you why I'm in an ornery mood. Over the weekend, my AC went out, and the person I would pay to fix it is out of town for the weekend. So I woke up after 3 hours of broken sleep in a pool of sweat. So I'm ornery this morning. I got 2 points to make. First, I'm watching TV over the weekend. I'm seeing a line of Palestinians going to the horizon. They're trying to get to a food station to get a bite to eat for themselves or their kids. 600 of them, over 600 of them have been shot and killed trying to get a bite to eat. Second, we all know about the kids in Africa and the peanut paste that's about to start rotting. So to lighten my mood, I changed the channel to ESPN looking for a ball game. And they got a son of a blankety-blank eating contest hero cramming 33 hot dogs down his throat like a porn star on speed. Linda Lovelace got nothing on this guy. And I'm thinking, what the heck? Anyhow, my second point I want to make is a little bit lighter. Someone asked me, Bruce, you're always talking about Republicans lining up to drink Trump's Kool-Aid. What flavor is it? I thought, what? So I got thinking about that. Hey, here's a way to make a boatload of money. Investors out there, get a hold of me. When you see the people when they're around Trump, where's their nose? What we're going to do is we're going to market a butt-flavored Kool-Aid and get rich. I'm gonna get off the phone right now. I'm gonna get off the phone right now before I start getting mean because I'm not in a good mood. I'm hot and I'm sweaty and I had no sleep. You have a blessed day, and I really feel bad for the people in the Hill Country, and our governor. Our governor is a complete. I won't say it. Anyway, I'm done.
Thank you very much, Bruce. Welcome aboard, Cheryl Elkins from Massachusetts. Thank you guys so kindly for being here. Suzette Jensen said, so many people do not understand the importance of government jobs. Government jobs are very important, but the idea, look, let me tell you what they do, Suzette. The idea is to make government look evil, make government look bad, so that the private sector can scoop in here and say you need the private sector, which is better managed to solve this. The private sector is not, I repeat, the private sector is not better managed than the government. That's a PR campaign from the private sectors for eons. The truth of the matter is the sole purpose of, and look, I have nothing against the private sector. I have my own private company, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But to sit back down there and think that a company that is profit based somehow cares more about you than a government job or worker who the entity that employs them was elected democratically and not autocratically, as is the leadership of corporations by design. It is, they really have to destroy your thinking process for that. So I repeat, all of you who constantly believe that the private sector is more efficient than the public sector, it is a calculable lie. Medicare takes 3% to run. In other words, the amount of Medicare funds that go out to solve medical problems as opposed to the parts of the funds that go to administer the program, 3% max for Medicare. You know what? It is at least 18% in the private sector. When you take out all the mismanagement, etc., that is miscalculated, it's more like 28% of your premiums in private healthcare goes towards management, goes towards profits, goes towards all these other things. It is never, ever for public services that's needed. It is absolutely, and anybody wants to debate this issue, please feel free to talk to me or call in, write anything you want. It is mathematically impossible for the private sector to be more efficient in doling public services than the government. It's mathematically impossible. Anyhow, let's go ahead now. Let's see. Beatrice says we need to underscore the need to get our children vaccinated, especially against MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella. The Mennonite community, as an example, generally refuse immunization. RTK has no medical license, and RFK has no medical license and is at the head of HHS. Measles was fully eradicated in 2000, but already this year there have been thousands of infections and hundreds of deaths. We must carefully choose where we get our information. We must do our due diligence, inform and protect each other. Conditions will become much worse. Stay vigilant, brothers and sisters. And she also says, with the recent floods in Texas, lack of sanitary water will magnify the measles crisis. When we have incompetence, when we have leaders that are not science-based as our leaders, it causes death. It's just like how Donald Trump mismanaged the COVID-19 pandemic. He is directly responsible for his incompetence. Hundreds of thousands of deaths that didn't have to occur had we taken it seriously. Uju M says, morning, this was all in Project 2025. Gut it all, then privatize it, and once again make the haves get access, and the rest of us, oh well, Egberto, the Florida corrupt regime would like a word. Unfortunately, Florida is also, you know what, effed in the next few months. Absolutely so. And ironically, it is the people, the states that are most, what should I say, dependent on government that have a tendency to follow the crappy solution that these guys talk about. Cheryl Elkins says, it is extremely dry and hot here too for New England. Weather is changing. It's definitely changing. Cheryl also says, thoughts and prayers, a sociopath's attempt to appear empathetic. I'm glad you said that, Cheryl. A sociopath's attempt to appear empathetic. While they are giving you thoughts and prayers, they're passing policies that harm, maim, and kills. Independent Voter One says it is willful ignorance to reject discussion on the link between funding cuts, disaster response, and real harm to people. John A. Davis says the rich live in a bubble and can purchase science for themselves, and they can purchase, guess what else, John? They can purchase gated community. They can purchase helicopters so that they don't have to be on the roads that they refuse to want to fix, even as their trucks decimate the roads or destroy the roads, as the trucks that form their wealth and decimates it. They can get all their stuff imported, right? Because again, they can survive that. All right, Neil Proctor says the military-industrial complex has lied to us about everything all our lives. Exactly right. John A. Davis says the wealthy who owns these politicians get everything that they want, but are opposed to community. John A. Davis says we are played by the wealthy who laugh at us. I can tell you, yes, they laugh at us as peons. They know that they have imposed a whole lot of psychological warfare on us. They've imposed sexism. They've imposed racism. They've imposed xenophobia. They've imposed all these isms and phobias so that we will be concerned about things that don't matter as they continue the pilfer. Alistair Waters, welcome, sister from Conroe. I hope you're keeping yourself dried. The Trinity River. Well, actually, Conroe is not the Trinity. Conroe is the San Jac River, so you're okay out there. Margaret Ryan says Trump has blood on his hands, just like the pandemic. The cruelty of Trump's regime has just started and will continue. I'm outraged. Science saves lives. Exactly. Science saves lives. And you know what? That's one of the reasons we've got to get back there, folks. Now I have, oh, let me see. Yikes. The other video that I have is too long to play now, but it has to do with, well, I tell you what, let's go ahead and entertain more calls. Folks, the phone lines are empty. You can give a call now, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Give us a call now if you have something to add. You know, as I watch the flood, the water coming out, I sit back and remember all the times that I've been on in that valley, in the Guadalupe River Valley, and even driving up to the Canyon Lake Dam. You know, Canyon Lake is the Colorado River in New Braunfels is buffered by Canyon Lake. In fact, the only reason they didn't get washed out in New Braunfels is because out there in Kerr is northwest of Canyon Lake, and Canyon Lake is only 62% filled. We've had a drought in Texas that has kept Lake Travis, Lake Buchanan, all these major lakes in Texas, Lake Buchanan, Lake Travis on the Colorado, they've been fairly dry. Now, the Travis went up 10 feet in less than a day. 10 feet in less than a day. Lake Travis and north of Austin, where we did a whole lot of partying back in the day. That lake was really, really dry, sort of like the Colorado River Basin in Colorado. I'm not talking, two Colorado rivers. There's a Texas Colorado River, and then there's a Colorado, Arizona, Colorado River as well. So yes, that a lot of these reservoirs from all that flooding have really started to fill up. So anyway, folks, number 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738. Call in now. I won't be able to play my last video as it's too long. Let's go to Uju. Come on in, Uju. How are you doing, beautiful?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Uju. Good morning.
Okay. I do have a question. Maybe you or maybe some of the listeners can write or text about it or call in. So if they're essentially going to gut FEMA, how does that work? Like I said, I live in South Florida, but trust me, we are next, unfortunately. And we have flood insurance, which technically is like FEMA. So if they gut it, what does that money that we paid go to? So if anybody knows, or if you know, please, eventually when I get off, just let me know. Also, secondly, I would just want to make a point. If anybody's able to get access to Project 2025, everything that has happened is literally the one thing I will give this regime credit for. They have executed Project 2025 almost flawlessly. Yes, they are incompetent, but Russell Bode and all his minions, they have executed it flawlessly. So if anyone has an opportunity to get access to it, and you have Adobe or Copilot or ChatGPT or whatever, put it in and literally just put whatever it is that you're trying to search for. It is executed to the T. The next thing that they're going to go for is essentially getting rid of elections under the guise of fraud. So I know everything that's happening is very devastating. I also want people to realize, everyone keeps on saying, we just have to make it to the midterms. No, there will be no midterms. The next step is eliminating elections. And I'm not being alarmist. Project 2025 literally has been executed flawlessly. That's all I'm going to say. Stay safe out there, and unfortunately, Florida's next.
Ojo, you're absolutely right about Project 2025. You're absolutely right. And more than Project 25, you're right about they've actually already started. I think Congress just passed, I think it's an issue with checking out not only voter registrations, but they're even trying to go back into the election that said that there was some sort of voter fraud. So that is what they're after now. They know that if things remain the same, that 2026 is going to be a bloodbath for them. So they're trying to mitigate that right now.
And there was a DOJ memo that just went out or something saying that they're going to start charging election commissions if they don't show that they put in place something in the computer to prevent fraud. Like, seriously? So 2026 is I'm not hopeful. I'm really not hoping, and I'm not being alarmist. I'm just saying they have executed this flawlessly. For an
Well,
incompetent regime, the people behind have done it very flawlessly.
well, let me just say this, Uju. I am confident. I am confident. You know, we are not just sitting sheep waiting to be slaughtered. Okay?
Of
Uh,
course,
you and I, as immigrants, we were
we know,
sold
we
what
know.
America exactly, but also we were sold what America says that it is. We are going to make sure that America lives up to that promise that it says it is. And again, this isn't, and this isn't, I want to say this is a demand, right? This is a demand.
Right,
We are not going to sit back and let the
right.
same family of folks who did wrong in the first place here to do wrong again. It ain't gonna happen. So thank you, Uju, for all you do. And by the way,
Right.
on FEMA, FEMA is a process. The idea was a process. Christy Nome, if FEMA were to ever go away, also would go away your flood insurance because I mean it's flood insurance to be
Got it.
paid because there would be no
Right.
FEMA to pay the flood insurance to. No, we are not going to allow
Got it.
FEMA to go away because FEMA is a grand insurance for the entire country. We can't allow that to go to the private
Okay.
sector. Thank you, sis. Have a good
Okay.
one.
Thank you. Have a great day. Everybody be safe.
Yes, let's go to Joni, line number 3. Come on in, Joni. How you doing, beautiful?
Good morning. I just wanted to voice a fear that I have because of everything that's going on here. And I've identified the they. When I say they, I've identified them as those who benefit from chaos, catastrophe, either personal or collective, of which this Kerrville situation is one. Those who benefit from chaos, catastrophe, confusion, ignorance, and fear. And I'm afraid that they want to, they really do want to get rid of most of us. They want to swoop in like they did in Puerto Rico when Puerto Rico had been hit by a hurricane and take what we got, what little we have. And I'm not talking about the millionaires that are, 2 and 3 million a year. I'm talking about the billionaires who are already so bloated. They see what we have. They look at it all the time during discussions about the economy. They say, oh, well, they're sitting on their savings. They see what people have, what the middle class has, and they want to take that too. And I just look at Puerto Rico, and I'm afraid that they want the chaos. Thieves benefit from chaos, and they want the chaos to happen so that we have to sell things for pennies on the dollar. If we have property, we'll have to sell it for pennies on the dollar when it's ripped apart. They don't want to help us. And, I don't know what the answer is. I don't think you can solve a problem
Joni, you have
in
the
the same
answer.
paradigm as that when it's created.
Joni, you have the answer. You just gave the answer. I mean, what is so great, and I mean, I love that you said what you said that they what they want. You remember when the pandemic came, the stimulus that went out, people got 1,300. I mean, I don't remember how many $100 twice in your pocket. I think it was like 1,300 twice or 14. I don't remember how much, but they got a lot of money, right, to spend. Now, what
Yeah.
is inflation, Joni? Inflation is when you can charge a higher price because there is a shortage. But there's another kind of inflation that is just caused by gouging, right? You said something
Calvin.
magical. You said
Or
something
Calvin,
magical.
yes.
You said something magical. You said the following. You said they don't want us to have, they see that we are sitting on savings, so they figure we can maximize how we take it from you. That is exactly what they did in when people got that check, right? When people got that check, they didn't say, "Wow, we'll have more business because now they can buy they can buy more stuff, they can pay off their bills, etc." That's not how the corporate execs saw it. They saw it, you know what? If they have more money, they can afford to pay a higher price. So you, the individual person, don't get to save. All your money belongs to them because they have something called pricing power. pricing power. I gave a whole talk on pricing power before. And there are lines, when you take an economics class, there's a line that says you keep raising prices until you reach that flex point where it starts to drop your total profit. That is the design within the system, right? That the
Yes.
masses don't get
And
to keep anything. And that's when I talk about we having to change the system. That's what I'm talking about. It's a mathematical
and
formula.
I
Go
have
ahead.
if I have to add, I'm worried about. I heard a new name that I haven't heard before, Sam Altman, and this person says that powerful people create corporations, more powerful people create countries, and the most powerful people create religions. He wants to make a religion out of AI. He wants to create a god with the computers, based on his own words. And when you have everything automated, you don't need people. So it'll all, I'm really concerned. It's a nightmare scenario in my head, and all I can do is trust that life finds a way, and life is more powerful than any computer. And then also I want to say that Paxton has identified his job before as getting up in the morning and suing the federal government when it was run by Democrats. You got to worry about a person with the mentality like that.
Gotcha.
And then I'm going to let you go because I know people. Okay, thank you, Egbert.
Thank you,
You
Joni.
too.
I love you, girl, and you're absolutely right. And let me just say, no fear, because we know what's going on and we'll mitigate it. Let's go to Curtis. Come on in, Curtis.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Ruiz. How you doing?
Good morning, sir. How you doing, sir?
Real great. Yes, I'm doing great. I just, I was listening to you guys all the time, but I agree, with a lot of things you guys saying, but I still have an issue, and I said it's not a real issue. It's just that I have a concern. I'm still wondering why the Democrat Party at this time, the Democratic Party, no one has stepped up. With the things that's happening, like, before, midterm will be here so soon, and you would think by now you would have someone from the Democratic or Liberal Party or someone to say, hey, you know what, this is the person that we stand with. He's going to run for president, in 3.5 years or something. And it just seems like there's no answer. I don't know, like we can talk on the phone right now on the radio, and a lot of the listeners, we have something to say. But every time I'm listening, I'm like, man, and I get it. I mean, I'm frustrated with the Republican Party right now. Donald Trump, and I don't, I don't really use words like that, but I mean, I feel like he's doing a very foolish job in a lot of different ways. Just like he's lying to people about this no tax on overtime, but MAGA people, it is what it is. I don't even want to get into all of that. But it's
Can I comment about the leader that you asked for, my brother? I am sort of glad that no specific leader has emerged, because we are only going to make a real change not from following a leader, but actually being collective leaders around the country. And I'm starting to see the movement build collectively. In other words, a lot of things are going to be done on the local side. And what I'm seeing in my Red Kingwood area is people of all persuasions started to take issue with things. And out of people taking issue with things, leaders are there. They are going to select who they want that leader to be. You, my brother Curtis, eventually you're going to see somebody that best is articulating the thing. And it doesn't look, people are saying, wow, 2026 is coming soon and we don't have it. Look, we are starting to pick folk on the local level. I mean, people laugh when we look at a hell of a person like Mandami. If you, I want those who just listen to Fox News that criticize this guy to understand why they are criticizing this guy the way they are. I want you to listen to that guy answer questions. He is going to win New York, and he's going to change the paradigm in New York. And we're going to have other local leaders around the country do just that. I mean, the people are fed up like you are, brother, but people are going to come up and lead. So my answer to you is the following. I can't quell your frustration, but I can tell you, being out there in the field, I see a lot of good things happening, and most of it coming from a lot of our young folks, Gen Z and young millennials. We're going to see some good things happening. Anything else, brother?
Yeah, I pray so. I mean, I do hope so that, this happened. When I look at it, I don't see a lot of answers. And like I said, I've talked to you, a few times. I hate to even say parties, but I am, I'm considered a conservative. But when I look at the Democrat Party, I see the same issues arising again and I understand what you're saying. There are people stepping up, and locally. But at the same time, when it comes to who people are going to stand behind, if it's going to cause a lot of confusion, you're going to lose the vote again. And what's going to happen is you're going to have 10 people deciding to say, it's me, it's me, it's me. And unfortunately for me, this is the reason why it's very hard for me to vote for a Democratic, position, because I see so much confusion inside the party. Even though Donald Trump may say things that people don't like, I can say one thing. The party, all of this was a setup. I posted, I showed people, this bill will be signed before the 4th of July because it's a setup. But it's done and everybody is together. And this is the issue. I look at the Democratic Party and I go, man, I think it's going to be too late. And you guys, they're going to decide to say, oh, yeah, this is the person that we want. And
Curtis, we're out for time. I got one more person to go. We're out for time. But let me just tell you, brother, stay tuned. Stay tuned. Thank you for calling in, brother. Brian, real quick, you got 30 seconds.
Yeah. Only the left can blame a sitting president for a natural disaster like you did. Do you understand how FEMA works? Do you have any idea? Explain to me what FEMA is, man.
Any other statement, sir? I'm not here to answer your questions right on that issue. So anything else you want to say?
You don't understand what FEMA does, do you? You call it insurance?
Thank you very much, Brian. All right. Anyway, folks, look, thank you. Let me throw it to the studio real quick.
Hey.
I caught you off guard.
Hey, Bertha, we're here.
All right. And then closer, guys.
Tell them, hold on.
Okay, let me just say this, my dear brothers and sisters.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Catastrophes that are fumbled turn into profit under austerity.
I love that statement, and I think we'll close with that statement. Folks, remember the rest of the program is at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, and you can write me directly at kpft@politicsdoneright.com. Look, my name is Egberto Willis. I love you all. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government buy-in for the people. We reported recently on the use of ranked choice voting in New York City's Democratic primary. A survey found that 96% of Big Apple voters found it easy to use, and 58% agreed that ranking allowed me to vote for candidates who aligned with my values. We initially reported Zohran Mamdani's 43.5% win with only one